What's up, guys? KAMIKAZE-FOX coming to you from SRL, Sandro Racing League F1 2020 on the PS4 platform, and it is opening weekend here, round one for Season 6, and what is a highly anticipated season of Formula One racing coming to you as we get ready to kick off here, round one at Austria. I'm KAMIKAZE-FOX, and I'm going to have guest commentator with me today, Sam Brandt, in the booth, who at last minute decided he is not, unfortunately, going to participate in this year's racing. He's going to focus on university studies. But Sam, good to have you with us. Looking forward to the season, I take it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a very, very competitive season I'm expecting that lies ahead of us, so I'm really looking forward to it, that's for sure.
And we'll run down to the racing lineup as it has changed a smidge with your absence, but we're going to have Dennis Carenchis here, slow 678 Saturn, Dennis Carenchis in the Racing Point, Azura 873 is Fins Van Houten in the factory Renault, Sandro Dulius back for another season at Ferrari, Cameron Weston Edwards making a highly anticipated return to McLaren this year, Brian Power will be in the Williams, your defending champion is Tim Ventic, he moves over from the Renault team to the Mercedes-AMG Petronas, Yo Marusic is going to be in the Red Bull, Colin Higgins is back for another season at Renault. Nick Van Gelder is going to be back with Red Bull Racing. Reese March in the Haas. Jensen Randall in the Mercedes Petronas. And then we have Robin Herderstagen and Louis Quinlan, both in the Alfa Romeos. And then Andrea Alatrella in the AlphaTauri. Dion Stahl's back for another season with Sandro at Ferrari. Rennie van der Stat making his highly anticipated return to SRL Racing. Ivan Brito is going to be in the Racing Point, and that is going to round out today's driver lineup. Looking at the season, obviously Tim Ventic being the favorite to defend the championship, but any takers on who might be able to take it to him? We had a lot of talk preseason testing about possibly Andrea Alatrella being a bit of a dark horse in the championship this year.
Yeah, absolutely, and I don't think he's the only one, to be honest. You mentioned that both Cameron Weston Edwards and René van der Stap is making their returns to SRL. We saw last season, just before they left McLaren, that they were championship contenders alongside Tim Venting, and of course we can't look past Venting's new teammate Jensen Randall.
Yeah, there was a lot of talk about Jensen Randall's speed, but inconsistency throughout the course of the few races that he had with us last year. Even talked to him a little bit during preseason, and as far as Jensen's concerned, there are no team orders between him and Tim. He's fighting for the championship.
Yeah, that's what I would imagine as well. With Jensen having showed that he is more than capable of having, if not the same pace, then especially, or at some tracks especially, he's going to be faster than Tim, I think. So it's going to be interesting seeing those two very competitive guys being teammates, because it could spark a few controversies throughout the season, I think.
And we'll talk about Team Haas real quick, as you were going to be Team Haas with Reese March once again this season. Obviously, you're not going to be participating. That seat's going to be filled for now by Yannick Verpaeten, not joining us today. Unfortunately, he is on the live stream. But yeah. Team Haas, we're trying to get another driver signed into that. But is Reese going to benefit at all from not having you as a teammate, or do you think it's going to hurt him in the long run?
It's a little bit difficult to say, to be honest, because it is going to relieve him from the pressure of having someone pushing him in the other car, but at the same time, then he is pulling the weight of the whole team on his shoulders all by himself, so it's a bit of a 50-50, I think. But as we saw last season, he got his first podium last season, and he was very close on several occasions, to be honest, to breach into that top 3, so I think he has matured and evolved pretty well throughout the time he's been in SRL, and we have to remember he is one of the younger drivers when we talk about SRL experience.
And we're going to take a look at qualifying here because everybody's out on the soft tires, and it has begun to rain here at Austria for qualifying. So hot laps are going to count real quick here to see if anybody can put in a good time on the soft tires before the track gets too wet.
Yep, and yeah, the soft tires, especially, well, I can only speak from my experience last season, but you can run on a semi-damp track with soft tires and still have the grip. I actually found that both intermediates and soft tend to actually have a little bit more grip because they become a little bit more sticky with the hot water. That is, when it is a little bit damp, but that could just be me and my preference. But they definitely want to get their lap times in before it starts raining heavily.
And taking a look at trying to find out who is where, and Andrea Elatrella is going to be the first one to set a lap time at a 1:05.226.
Yeah, that's.
And then Reese March actually goes 1:04.646 to the top of the charts. He's followed by Rennie Vanderstappen and Cameron Weston Edwards in the McLarens. And Reese did talk briefly before the race that he was hoping that it would be some rain because he seems to race better in the wet.
It could be. It's obviously every driver is different and every driver likes different conditions. So we might have seen some of the conditions that really
and we've got a car
Reese.
off at yellow flag. Was that Louis Quinlan? I briefly saw it.
I think that was the Haas of Reese, actually. That had spun in turn 2.
That is the Haas of Reese March. So he sets the fastest lap and bottles it on the next one. Looks like he's got some wing damage, so he'll have to head back in.
Yeah, definitely. And to be fair, turn 2 or turn 3, depending on what you count as turns, obviously, or corners. But I think officially it's turn 3, but applying power out of turn 3, it can be a little bit tricky, especially when it is damp conditions, so I would imagine that he was a little bit eager to get on the throttle.
And Reese already having a hard enough time trying to get back to the pits. So and we've got a couple of guys on the live chat. Charles Palmer, who hasn't made it here today, says he's going to try and make it for the race. And unfortunately, I have Epic the Animal, who I wanted to get in here for the race today. Unfortunately, according to Sandra, he's not officially signed up with the league just yet, so I cannot send him an invite, which is rather disappointing, but I don't make the rules, I just got to play by them.
It's a little bit of a shame because it's a long... I think, if I remember correctly, he was American, right?
Yes.
It's been a long time since we have had an American in SRL, and to have an American at the American team, the only American team, that would just have been the best possible combination that could have been. So it's a shame, but he might get another chance.
I'm going to work very hard this next week to try and get things straightened out so we can get him in here. And it's kind of cool, too, because not only would he be the only American at the American team, but Logan races in a variety of other leagues. He does some IRL. He does some IRS, which is the International Racing Series, and in each and every one of those leagues, he has managed to get onto the Haas team. So that would make 3 leagues that he would be running at Haas as the American. So certainly want to try and make that happen. Unfortunately, he had a new job, his work schedule. He got kind of in rather late with all of his information. So we'll try and get it straight for next week and hopefully get him in here.
Yeah, especially in these times, it can be a little bit tricky for, I would imagine, pretty much any driver to sign up, because what is going to happen in the next weeks, we basically don't know with the current situation of the world. So it can be a little bit tricky to get league racing underway with drivers that have jobs or other activities they need to attend to. So it can be a little bit tricky, but we'll definitely work towards the best possible solution.
So Ivan Burrito saying he needs another invite. He left the session. Is he allowed to rejoin the session? That was I think that was an IRL rule last year.
I imagine because I think... Oh, I don't know, because his invite, if he did disconnect, he could be... I don't know how the game works, actually. I've never really looked into it, so it's a little bit tricky to say, to be honest.
I know last season, if it was in last season in IRL on F1 2019, if you left during qualifying, you were able to come back. But if you left during the race, you were not able to come back because there was a glitch in the game during the race that if you left and came back, you wouldn't get any corner cutting penalties.
Yeah, and that's an advantage, should we say?
And we're watching Nick Van Gelder's only managed to put up a 109.917, so this is actually kind of interesting because there's 10 minutes left to play in the session. It's continuing to rain. A lot of these guys are continuing to circulate around the track on what is the soft tire. Reese still sitting provisional pole.
Yeah, that's very interesting. If you could hold that position all the way until the end of qualifying.
We're going to pick up the two McLarens. We've got Cameron Weston-Edwards and Rennie Vanderstapp both going out on soft tires once again. We're going to pick up Rennie because he's the first one to come across the line to start a fresh hot lap. We'll ride along with him. And it'll be interesting to see. He's only a tenth off of the time of Reese, but that was set almost 10 minutes ago at this point where the track was still relatively dry. It had just started raining when qualifying started, so a little bit wet track, cold tires. Rennie obviously the better driver of the two, but I don't think he's got enough traction to try and pull it off.
No, you do have to wonder if the track has reached maximum potential and is now falling away from the drivers with the rain coming down. Obviously we don't know because we're not out on the track, so we can't really tell how much water there is, but it does speak a little bit about, for Reese, that no one is able to best him. That he set his lap time. I think, wasn't he the first one to set a lap time, I think?
He was the first one to set a lap time as well, which is the other interesting part. I mean, basically a green track, and exactly. He comes out of the box swinging, and it looks like Rennie's trying to put some heat into these tires, but either that or he's struggling with grip, and he's actually going to head back into the pit, so he's not going to be able to make anything happen this time around. We'll pick up Cameron Weston-Edwards and see if he can make anything happen. And Edwards,
I do think the track has actually topped at this moment, at this point in qualifying. I think, looking at the skies at least, it doesn't look like it's going to get any lighter with rain. And if that's not the case, I think we could see a surprise pole position. But I'm not going to jinx it, obviously.
And Cameron Weston-Edwards is going to cross the line, but it was a 109.339 for him, so obviously the grip's starting to fall away, and you got to hand it to Cameron. Cameron has got a real gung-ho attitude when it comes to racing, and he's going to go out there and give it a shot. And it looks like Ivan Brito has rejoined the session. Now, Sandra's come on the live chat to tell us that it is going to be a dry race, which will be interesting to see how long Reese can hang on to the possible pole position.
Yeah, that's very interesting. And another thing that is very interesting to me, if we look at Jensen Randall and Tim Venting, the duo that we would imagine could take the Constructors' Championship, Tim is in P8 at the moment, and Jensen, as far as I'm concerned, has not set a lap time yet.
No, Jensen has not set a lap time. But as the track starts to deteriorate, we're watching Cameron Weston-Edwards really struggle with a bit of snap oversteer in the wet. Wondering if he'll try and set another time or if he'll head into the pits at this point. And it looks like he is going to head into the pits.
There is obviously some information that we don't know, and that is the weather going to clear, right towards at the end of qualifying, and is that what Jensen Randall is waiting for? If there's a dry patch that comes at the last minute, is he going to be able to start a lap on the last second and get a better lap?
Well, it looks like one of the Racing Points is heading out, and I've got my eyes on Andrea because he's actually set the car up on the intermediates. He's the only one on the timing and scoring that shows an intermediate tire setting. So he may go out and try and see what kind of lap time he can set with intermediate tires. But my question is for guys like Nick Van Gelder, who's the slowest of the timed laps with a 109.917, is there enough grip in the intermediates to throw them on and possibly improve that time over the softs, given the track conditions?
Well, looking at what Andrea has done, I would imagine that Nick could improve on his 109 with a set of intermediates. But then again comes the question, is there going to be a dry patch towards the end? Because then it wouldn't fit, to be honest, to waste a set of intermediates. And also, put a lot of wear into your engine, essentially. So I don't know. If it's not gonna dry up, I think Nick would be better off with trying to take a intermediate lap time. But otherwise, he just needs to sit tight.
And Ivan Brito is having some internet issues, it would appear. He's rejoined the session. I picked up his car. It was out on track, and he just disconnected again. So we are going to pick up, though. We'll pick up Brian Power in the Williams. And he's actually, looks like he's the only car out on track. So he's got a clear track. And I'm going to hop on board with him real quick. And it does actually look like the rain has let up. So you might have been right about that clear patch at the end of qualifying.
There's also the thing that when cars are out on track, they obviously clear the water on the racing line. So I don't know if that's what Brian is trying right now, to clear the racing line so that he can get a clean lap in. It looks like it could be that, but all of the others need to go out and help him if they want to have that dry line, because rain, even if it stops, we still need to clear the water, and that can take some time if it's just one single driver. But if all 17 drivers came out on track at the same time, it would, go so much faster with clearing the water, because everyone is on a different patch of tarmac at the same time.
So Brian Power does not improve his position. He did go purple in Sector 2. And it looks like we've got Andrea getting ready to come out on, looks like he's out on an out lap as well. I got a feeling with about 2 minutes to go, the track's going to get very, very, very busy. And unfortunately, I think Reese March's provisional pole might be in danger. A 104.646 is not necessarily a bad time, considering the conditions in which it was set, but a dry lap around here is 102?
No. Yeah, maybe. I don't know if it could be a 103, possibly. I would advise Reese to go out on track at the moment and be out there in case he needs to put in a lap. Because he could technically just drop like a stone if the track evolves really, really quickly. But
now Brian Power set a time. Brian Power just went fourth quickest with a 104.918. That dropped Andrea down to fifth, but Andrea has just gone purple in Sector 1. So the track clearing up, and he is now purple in Sector 2.
Yeah, Brian's time is definitely a testimony to the fact that the track is dry now, and it is evolving at the moment.
So here comes Andrea across the line, and 103.209 smashes the provisional pole time set by Reese March.
Yeah, and that was to be expected if the track was clearing up, and as we see now, as you said, a 103.2. That is a destruction of the provisional pole. The question is if all the other drivers now can follow in what Andrea and Brian has done.
Well, we're going to pick up, and again, 2 minutes to go, and the track is starting to get very busy. Foons Van Houten is out. Looks like Rennie van der Staps, Andrew Dulius, Tim Ventic is out. Dion Stahl. Jurgen Marusic, Nick Van Gelder, Jensen Randall, they're all coming out on outlaps. Louis Quinlan, who's yet to set a time. And actually talked to Louis during preseason testing. He's very excited about this season. Really feels like the handling model in this game is more beneficial to him the last few games have been. And
Yeah.
he's.
I mean, we have seen glimpses of his speed. He's just been very unlucky throughout the different seasons that he's competed in, but he has the speed, definitely. So if the handling model suits him, it could be another contender for a championship, possibly.
So Andrea retires from the session. He feels the 103.209 is good enough to good enough for pole. Looks like Rennie Vanderstapp is invalidated his lap time, and we're going to pick up Cameron Weston Edwards, who's on an out lap, and he's on an out lap. He'll cross the line with just enough time to start one last timed lap. And same thing with Dennis Karenchis. Karenchis is going to come across the line with just enough time.
Yeah, but the thing is, you have to remember, is that they are not that much under pressure. They already have a banked lap. The guys like Jensen Randall, Colin Higgins, and Louis Quinlan and Ivan, they all are without a lap time at the moment, so they need to make this lap count.
Well, Cameron Weston Edwards is using, I believe, it's either Nick or Yor as a slipstream around this track. So the first two drivers, Funs van Houten's time is locked in at a 104.918. Louis Quinlan goes second quickest with a 103.507. Reese does improve his time to a 103.969. But that is immediately dropped to fourth. Jensen Randall goes second quickest. We're continuing to watch Cameron Weston Edwards, but it looks like his time is invalidated. Brian Power retires from the session. We'll try and pick up Nick Van Gelder. Van Gelder, who was dragging Cameron Weston Edwards around the track, but Cameron was unable to improve. So Nick Van Gelder goes fifth quickest. Tim Ventic, 102.905, the only driver into the 102s.
Wow. That is super fast.
We'll pick up Rennie Vanderstapp, who's coming out of the last couple of quarters now and back onto the front straightaway. And he goes 103.762. And that is going to do it for qualifying. Qualifying had dried up relatively quick. And we're getting word from Charles Palmer on the live chat. He's not going to be able to make today's race, unfortunately. So Charles Palmer, not in today's race. But here is your starting order for the opening round. Tim Ventic, the only driver to crack into the 102s, followed by Andrea Alatrella, Jensen Randall, Louis Quinlan, Dennis Karenchis, Rennie Vanderstapp, Nick Van Gelder, Reese March, Sandro Dolius, Cameron Weston Edwards, Brian Power, Funs van Houten, Robin Herderstagen, Dion Stahl, Yoma Rusic, Colin Higgins, and Ivan Brito, who I am not even sure will be participating in the race with his internet issues, but that's going to round out the starting grid for the 17 drivers for today's race. Unfortunately, Charles Palmer not going to make it. Unfortunately, we couldn't get Logan Epic the Animal in here, and that's two very fast drivers that aren't going to be in today's race. So does Tim walk away with a relatively easy win, or does Jensen and Andrea give him a run for his money?
I think he's going to have a run for his money. Yeah, but it does speak a little bit about, or a lot about Tim's speed. That was almost a sub-minute lap time. I mean, we've never seen anything close to that before. And now, well, it was very close. It was only like 2.5 seconds off or something like that. So it speaks about his speed, definitely. But he's going to have a run for his money, especially into turn 1 and up the hill towards turn 3.
And I think we've seen in years past with some drivers that even if you have good qualifying pace, race pace is a completely different story.
Absolutely.
So we're going to run down the driver lineup and starting grid one more time here on the formation lap. Tim Ventic, last season's champion, starting on pole, trying to kick things off right to defend his championship. But he is going to be trailed by the dark horse Andrea Elatrella and his teammate Jensen Randall, both very fast drivers. Louis Quinlan with a surprise fourth place starting position, making his comeback after the last couple seasons being MIA. Dennis Karenchis has shown great speed towards the end of last year and in preseason testing. We'll see if he can work his way through the field and maybe score some points, maybe get a podium as well. Rennie Vanderstapp coming off of his league ban from round 8 in China last year. He's going to be looking to make amends with the league and put some points on the board for sure. Nick Van Gelder, your season 4 champion, starting down in 7th. Reese March, who was sitting on provisional pole for so long, we almost had a shock pole position from the man, but Reese starting in 8th position. Sandro Dooley is probably disappointed with his qualifying efforts, starting all the way down in 9th. Cameron Weston Edwards and Brian Power will be 10th and 11th, and then we've got Foons Van Houten starting in the 11th position. We'll see if he can work his way into the top 10 to put some points on the board. Robin Herderstagen starting in 13th. And then Dion Stahl. Unfortunately, Team Ferrari looking a lot like Team Ferrari in real life right now, starting in 9th and 14th. Jure Marusic is going to be 15th. And Colin Higgins, who is still best known for his barrel rolling accident in his opening debut race a couple seasons ago, starting in the 16th spot. And Ivan Brito's car will round out the 17 drivers for today's race. And hopefully the timing and scoring doesn't get too screwed up, as we've seen Codemasters have not really focused on online play,
which is a shame.
Which is odd to me. I don't understand it. You know, for a game that's supposed to be an esports game, you think that would be the one thing you would concentrate on, but hey.
Yeah.
So we'll wait for the 5 red lights. Any second now. And possibly an issue with the lobby. Usually doesn't. There it is. There we go. Lights out. Time to run with LeBrun. They're away to puff of smoke, and it's a good start for Tim Ventic, but Andrea's got the inside line, and it's a drag race down to turn 1, and around the outside, Tim's going to try to go. He makes contact with Andrea. He's going to retake the lead. Here comes Louis Quinlan up into 30, side by side with Jensen Randall. And here comes Rennie Vanderstapp all over the back. And then they're going to go 4 wide into the second corner. And Rennie's going to take the lead. Can he hang on to it? That was a dive bomb move. He's out in front. And I've seen 2-for-1 deals in the past, but I've never seen a 4-for-1 as Rennie Vanderstapp takes the lead of this race. But he's got Louis Quinlan trying to come down to the inside. And inside of that is going to be Dennis Karenchis as he tries to get the power down coming out of turn 3. Unbelievable start, and Jensen Randall and Tim Ventic. Tim Ventic, I think, had some contact and lost a bit of his wing. He's all the way down into the 10th position.
Yeah, he's not going to be happy with Rennie Vanderstapp there. And yeah, that was as you said, it was a big dive bomb. It was, how many cars did he overtake in that, like, dive? I think it was around 5 cars. 4 cars. I mean, and Tim, he was leading by, like, clearly into turn 3, but I think it has to be a racing incident, in my opinion. It was a late dive, but at the same time, Tim, he did turn in a little bit. He knew that the McLaren was coming, and I don't see why that could be seen as a racing incident, to be honest.
But here comes Louis Quinlan. Now he's trying to put on the same move that Rennie Vanderstapp did, and Louis Quinlan just took the lead of this race. And this is, if anybody's watched SRL the past couple seasons, this is amazing to see Louis Quinlan out in front. Big lockup on the right front now. And the timing and scoring is a little jacked up on the timing and scoring board. It was showing Tim there as the leader, but look at these cars. There's 4 cars, 5 cars in a train. The top 5 cars in a round goes Dennis Karenchis. He's off into the gravel.
That looked like a driver error there on the curb. Wonder if there's going to be auto spin curbs on this game this year, but if not, that was a little bit aggressive on the throttle there from Dennis, but doesn't look like he had damage, luckily for him.
And Rennie Vanderstapp now under threat from Andrea Alatrella. We're now working lap 3, so the DRS is enabled, and it's a drag race down into turn 2. And Rennie is side by side. Looks like he's going to defend that position. Jensen Randall almost giving the chrome horn to Andrea as they head into turn 2.
Yeah, and like what you saw there from Rennie, again, very aggressive driving, very aggressive defending. Seems like the McLaren boys this year are going to be the bad boys of the grid. Like we've seen in the past, but there's nothing against that. I have nothing against that. I quite like that, to be honest.
Yeah, we did some talked about the talked about Cameron Weston-Edwards in preseason and how aggressive he is with his defending, and it's really, I can only really compare it to like Max Verstappen and Ayrton Senna. Like, he's very good at putting his car in a precarious position and lets you make the decision as to whether or not you want to go for it. And
yeah, absolutely.
It's aggressive, and it's a very fine line that they walk, and it's frowned upon by some of the other drivers, but still within the rules. So what do you do?
Yeah, exactly, and it kind of correlates. Like, I would very much compare René's driving style. It's kind of like you say, Max Verstappen, Kevin Magnussen, Romain Grosjean, Isk. Like, they run like on the line. Sometimes they may overstep it a little bit, but that's what we like about them, to be honest. I mean, that's the reason why we like a Max Verstappen charging down on Lewis Hamilton. He's very aggressive. That's why we like to see Kevin Magnussen defend, because he's very aggressive.
And Andrea Elatrella has made the move around René to pick up the second spot, and he's going to set his sights on the leader. And it looks like René's losing another spot to Jensen Randall now. So René's lost a couple of spots, and he's got his teammate Cameron Weston-Edwards all over the back of him at this point.
Looks like that aggressive start. He might be out of attack mode on the ERS, to be honest. He might be down on ERS compared to the others. We have to remember that.
And it looks like somebody was coming out of the pits.
That was Brian Power, I think. He's already in danger of coming a lap down.
And he has gotten out of the way, yep. Oh, and he's into the wall. I don't know if he got touched there, if he was just trying to get out of the way, but into the wall goes Brian Power.
Seems like that Williams is quite a handful in terms of traction, but I'm not sure. But luckily he didn't disturb the front battle.
And I do want to make a quick mention. Epic the Animal did mention on the live chat that he ran a 102.8 in qualifying for a UPL race, which is another one of the leagues that he participates in. So a 102.8, had Epic been here and signed up, he could give Tim a run for his money. But Tim currently running down in the 12th spot. He had that incident early on in the race, and he hasn't been able to make much headway given the conditions.
No, not at the moment, but we also have to remember I think he's one of two or maybe three drivers that has had a spin or has been unlucky to get caught up. So if other drivers don't make mistakes, it's always quite difficult to catch back up.
And Quinlan taking the defensive line away from Andrea Alatrella as Andrea tries to go around the outside of turn 2. And look at this. That opened up the door for Jensen Randall. Randall gets a run down the inside, and now they're going to go 3 wide into turn 3. And oh no, Jensen Randall makes contact with Louis Quinlan. And Jensen having a rough go here. And René's going to move back into the 3rd spot. And again, I don't know. That really, I'm sure, I mean, the drivers can always make a report, an incident after the race. But again, that looked like just a racing incident. 3 wide on this track is...
Yeah,
you're asking a lot of the track limitations in the car.
Yeah, exactly. And also, like, it's a fast corner, it's a downhill corner, so you need to trust the brakes. That's for sure. Down into turn 4. Jensen, I think he was a little bit unlucky, just got caught on the grass. I don't really think there was a move that was an option at the moment where he tried it, and in the place that he tried it, but yeah.
And Andrea Elatrella just went around the outside of turn 1 to take the lead of this race from Louis Quinlan. And yeah, you're right. Unfortunately, I think that was
looked like a racing incident, to be honest.
And René van der Staap now gets around Louis Quinlan as well. So it looks like maybe Quinlan's tires are starting to fall off. And there's a racing point, and is that Ivan Brito's car? That is Ivan Brito's car, and I believe his car is AI.
Yeah, and from previous experience, we do know that the AI in online is not too clever. So hopefully it's not going to cost anyone here once they have to lap him.
And I do believe that you are... SRL is one of the only leagues that I have ever dealt with. You guys don't use AI, or you don't use ghost cars in any capacity.
No.
Which I truly, truly, truly appreciate, because there's no goddamn ghost cars in real life.
No, and it also takes away the, like, the fun, I would almost say, for the viewer when maybe a race leader is catching up. He's pulling away from the pack, and all of a sudden he catches up to the back of a group of lap cars. I mean, in real life, they still have to go around them and lose time. If you have ghost cars, you can just drive your normal line and you don't lose any time. If anything, you actually gain time by getting DRS. So it's not really
that's a good point. I never thought about that. You do get the advantage of the DRS, but not the disadvantage of a solid car in front of you. So, but
and
take
also,
a look.
I don't think ghost cars produce dirty air for the car behind. So it's all of the disadvantages are pretty much gone with a lap car, and you only get advantage of DRS, and like you don't get slipstream, but the DRS is still powerful enough.
And Andrea Alatrella has pulled out to a 2.6 second lead over this group of cars. Then we've got Rennie van der Staap running in second. He's closely followed by his teammate Cameron Weston Edwards, who has gotten around Louis Quinlan. Quinlan has dropped to fourth. Those three cars are running nose to tail with each other. Then it's 2.3 seconds back to Nick Van Gelder running all by his lonesome. And then we've got Funs van Houten, who's worked his way up to sixth. And Reese March is in seventh. Robin Herterstegen having a good day in eighth. Colin Higgins in ninth, and Tim Bentic has worked his way into the 10th and last points-paying position. He did just pick up a 3-second time penalty, and obviously time penalties will be a factor in any of these races, but I really feel like mid-pack with this league is so tight together that it could really alter the finishing order at the end of this race.
Absolutely, and also with the pack that we have out in front, not necessarily Andrea, but with Rene, Cameron, and Louis, I mean, a penalty is going to drop them 2-3 positions possibly.
And we see Cameron now trying to drag race his teammate down to the inside.
So both McLarens there out of turn one there got a big, like a tank slapper on the rear end there. So they're driving the, well, should we say, the boots off their cars.
Louis Quinlan trying to make a move on Rennie van der Staap. Rennie to go in the very defensive line, obviously pushes him wide. And yeah, they both had power down a little early, and we're working lap 10 of 36, so the pit window should open here soon for these soft tires in the next couple of laps. And some of these guys, Cameron, Rennie, and I know we've talked about Nick in the past, very aggressive on their tires and their throttle control, so their tires are probably going to be wearing out a little bit quicker than, say, somebody like Andrea Alatrella or even Funs van Houten. And we do see Louis take a shot at maybe going for an undercut as he dives into the pits.
It's a great strategy call, I think, from Alfa Romeo, because, I mean, if McLaren at the moment, if they keep battling, they're going to lose time, and even if their tires are going off, I mean, they can't double stack at the moment. That would cost dearly for Rene at the moment. So one of them is going to have to take another lap if one of them is coming in this lap. So it could maybe be a position gain for Louis Quinlan if the tires fall off a cliff like drastically in the next couple of laps.
And Team McLaren, I mean, we there was a lot of talk about the Mercedes team this year because we knew how fast Jensen was, Tim obviously being the defending champion. But there was also a lot of talk about McLaren itself possibly being the team to beat when it comes to the constructor standings. I mean, obviously both of these drivers are very quick. They have contended for poles, wins, podiums. Unfortunately, Cameron's still trying to get that maiden F1 win in SRL. Rennie looks like he's going to be the first one to pit. Cameron's going to go around for another circuit, and we're going to pick up Louis Quinlan, see where he comes out in the midst of all this. He's coming down the back straightaway now, down to the last couple of corners here, and onto the front straightaway.
To be honest, that was actually a clever call from McLaren, because Cameron is further in front compared to Louis, so Rennie was, if he was the last to box, he was going to lose dearly out, but with Rennie boxing earlier, he's not going to lose as much.
And you're a great call, because Rennie just came out just behind Louis Quinlan. But Tim Ventic is also making his presence known now. Let's pick up some...
You have to remember, the guy that actually did send him into the pits on lap, I think it was lap 1, was Rennie, who's right in front of him.
And there is some contact there between Tim and Rennie. Tim, maybe a little nudge there, like, hey, I know what you did earlier.
Yeah.
So, Tim makes the move, but Tim has got 9-lap-old mediums, Rennie coming out on fresh mediums, so a little advantageous move there.
It's not the first time that these two have banged wheels. We do, unfortunately for Rene, we do have to call back to China in last season, where, well, controversy struck and it ended in a Mercedes-Renault-McLaren calamity, pretty much. So, but...
Yes, and, yeah, Tim did have some harsh words last week in regards to Rennie being able to rejoin the league, and I know you and Sandro had a lot of conversation with Rennie in the off-season, so hopefully Rennie keeps his cool.
Yeah, and to be honest, I think what Tim did, it was kind of fair, I think, because Rennie did make an outrageous dive bomb on lap 1, to be fair, so I think it was payback, and I mean, it's not... Well, like in real-life Formula 1, that would not be welcomed, but it's not real-life Formula 1, it is SRL, and we don't mind payback a little bit, as long as it doesn't, like, cost a retirement or something like that.
Yeah, and I think that was just a fair nudge, just to be like, hey, I know what you did, type deal. I mean, obviously there's some bad blood between those two, as we continue to watch them battle it out. And Louis Quinlan has just gone back-to-back with fastest laps, 106.439 now. Cameron Weston-Edwards has pit. He is coming out of the pits, and he's going to lose a handful of positions right here. He's going to be a part of this battle. And he gets out just in front of his teammate, Rennie van der Staap. So Rennie losing a position to Tim Ventic, and Ventic's actually going around the outside now of Louis Quinlan. I'm sorry, Robin Herdesthagen.
Yeah, and that's also something we have to remember. Robin and Louis are teammates, so Robin could make this very difficult for the McLarens and the Mercedes in order to let Louis just run away.
And a huge lockup from Tim Ventic on the right front heading into that downhill turn 3.
He's pushing, he's definitely pushing. He knows that he needs to make another stop at before the end of this race, so he just wants to pull the gap, that's for sure.
And he's also got a sea of orange in his rearview mirrors. He's got Rennie van der Staap and Cameron Weston-Edwards breathing down his neck.
But in all of this, it has opened up for Louis Quinlan to slowly just walk away, pretty much. With that undercut strategy from Alfa Romeo, and now with Robin also holding up the McLarens and the Mercedes a little bit, and he's just walked away.
Here's the thing with Louis, though. He pitted for another set of softs. He's going to have to make another pit stop.
Yeah, he has to make another pit stop. He's just gambling on the fact that the others also have to make another stop. Which I admire the bravery, to be honest. I think it's a fresh strategy, to be honest. And we'll see if it pays off.
Meanwhile, Cameron Weston-Edwards has gotten around Tim Ventic for the 3rd spot. And now it's back to Tim with Rennie breathing down his neck. And unfortunately now Tim finds himself in the meat in the middle of the McLaren sandwich.
This is not where he wants to be, I can assure you of that. He wants to be in front. He wants to be controlling this race. But at the moment, it looks like Andrea is just slowly walking away with a season opening victory here for him.
And while those three have been battling it out, Jensen Randall and Nick Van Gelder have been closing the gap on them. And I don't know if they're trying to... Ooh, and they bang wheels coming out of turn 1.
They might be trying to work a little bit together, obviously.
Well, that's kind of what I thought, if they were going to be slipstreaming off of each other to try and catch that battle. But does Nick really want to help Jensen get to his teammate?
That's the thing, yeah. I don't really know. I mean, it could benefit both of them, and at the end of the day, the Drivers' Championship is on the line. I know it's race 1 out of 22 this season, but it's still it's still always good to get that first win of the season.
Yeah, it's good to see you guys left Brazil on the calendar, even though real F1 did not. 22 races, obviously going to be a long season, but I like the fact that you're finishing the season out in a more of a classic fashion. Suzuka and Brazil.
I mean, we don't have the restrictions that real-life Formula 1 has, thankfully. So we can do all 22 races. Unfortunately, it does also mean that Codemasters, they're not going to bring updates that are going to include Mugello. It's not going to bring Imola. It's not going to bring Algarve. So, unfortunately, we're going to have to sit those races over. But we're going to have some other races that are going to be really, really good, I think.
And we just saw Remy van der Stappen trying to take an inside line to Tim Ventic, and I think he could have pushed the issue, but it looks like he might have backed off a little bit.
I don't think he wants to push it too much, because we have seen Tim, he has a very short temper occasionally, so, and he's not, we have seen he's not afraid to give a little bit of payback, so I think René just wants to sit tight and just wait until he can make a clean move.
And Ivan Brito is screaming at us on the live chat for another invite back to the race, which he has not participated in for quite some time. Ivan, you're clearly having some internet issues, my friend. Your car is well out of contention.
Yeah.
I don't know that it would be in the race's best interest to have you rejoin just to disconnect again. I'll have to get some clarification on that from Sandro after the race, but you're the league administrator. What's your say on that there, Sam?
It's a little bit tricky, I think, because obviously I do get where Ivan is coming from with the fact that he wants to rejoin and he wants to race. He's waited so long for the season start, and it's like, okay, it's just ending on lap 1. That's kind of sucks. But as you said, his car is, I don't know if it's multiple laps down, but it's definitely 1 lap down, so points are, I would say, kind of out of the picture for that car, unfortunately. So it goes both ways, but as you said, we need clarifications, because we don't really have that, to be honest, on situations like this.
Yeah, and again, there was the glitch last year where you could rejoin a race and it wouldn't count, any warnings for corner cutting. So that could be exploited. I don't know if that's an issue with the game again this year, but considering that Codemasters has not done very well at, with the online stuff, I don't. It's probably something we should have talked about before the race as to what that rule would be, and I don't want to make the decision without talking to somebody like Sandro, and you're the next best thing. So
yeah,
we're halfway through the race, and I think it's probably just in the league's best interest to leave it be.
Yeah, so, as it is now, unfortunately, but. Yeah, as you say, I'm the next best thing. I mean, I don't even know at the moment. So, I mean, we do need the judgment of Sandro at the moment. I would think so.
Well, I'm going to pick up the battle now for 9th, because this is Reese March closing in on Dennis Carenchis, and Dennis, I don't think, is having the race that he wanted. We know Carenchis has got some speed. But it looks like he might have been struggling a little bit this race. Reese is all over the back of him. Reese is going to have the DRS advantage as they head down towards turn 2, or turn 3, however you want to classify it. I call it turn 2.
Yeah, exactly. And
Reese! Oh, he just gave him a little bit of a NASCAR bump and run. He's broken part of the end plate off of his wing, so now that's going to hurt him. Again, he's got the DRS slot open. He's going to try and go around the outside of Dennis heading into turn 3. Side by side, but he's going to struggle with the understeer. Carenchis is going to be able to cut right back in front of him. And now this is where the loss of downforce is really going to hurt him. He's heading into this corner. He goes very wide, misses the apex. And unfortunately, he has lost the right front end plate of that wing. So now it's going to be damage control. And we see Tim Ventic has had to head back into the pits.
Oh, has there been some contact there? Or is it just like a pit stop that he planned?
Well, remember, he was on old medium tires, so he is now going to come back out on softs. 21 of 36, that's a long way to go on soft tires. And just as a staple, you could use your Marusic's on 16-lap-old softs, and he's running in 11th. He has not made any headway in that case.
Not at all.
Possibly to further the point is Louis Quinlan, who's currently running in second. And he's got 9-lap-old soft tires, and he's actually starting to lose a little bit of time now to Cameron Wesson Edwards. So I don't know that Tim's strategy there.
He has to complete 15 laps on the same tires, so that could be very difficult, actually. But looks like he's up for the job, seems like.
And Louis, as we spoke of him, he is just now coming into the pits. He's going to switch over to a fresh set of mediums. That is going to allow Foons Van Houten and Tim Ventic. Ventic trying to make a move on Foons as they head down the front straightaway. And Tim's going to take the 7th spot away. Where is he going to come out in relation to Louis? He's going to come out just behind Louis Quinlan. So Louis, 6th spot, and that's going to be a bit of a battle to watch.
Yeah, because the fact is that these two are on pretty much just as old tires as the other one. The difference is the compound. So Tim is initially going to be faster than Louis, but then at some point the crossover point is going to happen.
And Tim does make the move on Louis Quinlan to pick up that 6th spot, but as you said, and I think it's a great counterpoint, I think the mediums are going to be still not strong enough towards the end of this race, and there's going to be a fall-off with Tim.
Exactly.
And we're going to pick up the battle now for 4th, because this is Jensen Randall all over the back of Nick Van Gelder.
And these two, as much as they were working together, it seems like now it's just evolved into whoever can take the front position is going to be best off, to be honest.
Yeah, they probably should have thought about that a little bit more. And here comes Jensen. He's going to make the move and easily get past Van Gelder with the DRS. But now, can Van Gelder come back?
Yeah, and again, interesting thing here. Jensen is on the hards while Nick is on the mediums, so you would think that Nick would be faster, but at some point the crossover point is going to happen, so at the... Oh, that was a very close...
Yeah, that was a big lockup.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like this is going to fall in Jensen's favor as we get further into the race or closer towards the end.
Well, he's already got 15 laps on those hard tires, and he's going to put another 12 on them towards the end of this race. That's still a long stint, even for the hards.
Yeah, it is, but I really can't see how many laps Nick has completed on those. Is it
Nick
7
has
laps?
got, he's just starting the 8th lap now.
Yeah.
So half the amount of laps on those tires as Jensen, so... That's a pretty even matchup right there as far as compounds, longevity, and drivers go. So this will be an interesting battle to watch as the race unfolds towards the last third of this race.
Yeah, because as you said, with half or like double the amount of distance covered from Jensen's hards, you would imagine that counters the difference in crossover points, pretty much. So that the crossover point happens at the same time, so they fall off equally fast. But still...
I think another thing we really need to watch, too, is, time penalties. As we see Dion Stahl pick up a 3-second time penalty, but you've got a lot of drivers that are relatively close together with each other. So Cameron Weston Edwards is only being trailed by Rennie by 2 seconds. Obviously, Jensen and Nick are running nose to tail. Tim's running kind of by himself at the moment, but still a 3-second time penalty. Louis Quinlan's running within that 3-second range, but Louis, again, could have multiple time penalties. And you still got Reese March and Dennis Carenchis battling it out. It looks like Reese is going to make the move since Dennis is heading into the pits.
Yeah, and the thing is also, Reese is running with a broken front wing, so is he going to get caught towards the end? with the tires dropping off, it's not going to make it easier for him to keep the car on the road, that's for sure.
And Sandro moves into 10th because of that. Haven't heard a lot from Sandro today. Pretty sure this is not unfolded how he wanted it to.
No, well, you did compare it a little bit to Ferrari in real life, and I think it's pretty much spot on. They're not having the best of days today, and they are just looking to move forward from this race, it seems.
But the real action has been, really, it's all been at the front, and we continue to watch this battle between Jensen Randall and Nick Van Gelder. These guys can't get away from each other, and they just lapped Dion Stahl, who's coming out of the pits with a fresh set of softs, but he is all the way back in 14th, and he is 25 seconds behind Jure Marusic for the 13th position. So, as you said, the Team Ferrari very much looking today as they do in reality. I mean, it's nice to see Ferrari in their 1,000th F1 race, obviously the longest tenured team in Formula One.
Yeah.
And even so, the longest tenured team in SRL, Dion and Sandro, have been teammates since pretty much day one, and they've always been at Ferrari, so a lot to be said there between those two, but really a disappointed effort. I know Sandro is going to be kicking himself, and Dion, I know Dion is not a ace F1 driver, but he has shown a lot of speed in sports cars, and so he's definitely got the potential, and I think he's going to be a little bit frustrated with a 14th place running.
Yeah, but there's a battle materializing right now. Tim has caught up to his teammate now, so this is interesting.
And Tim going to try and go around the outside, and now it's a three-car battle. Look at that move, inside to outside, to try and get past both of these cars. And he's going to try and squeeze it, get the power down. He's going to run in the grass a little bit. Now he's side by side with Nick Van Gelder. And look at this, shoulder to shoulder as they head down into turn 3. Bit of a lock up there. You can hear the tires squealing. And he's going to get pushed again. And he's going to make that move heading into the left-handers.
That was almost ended in a Alex Albon, a reverse Alex Albon, should we say, right there, with the Mercedes close to the gravel and the Red Bull squeezing, but he made it.
So now, Tim up into the 4th position, but he's still going to run another 8 laps on those soft tires. I just don't see it happening. I think Tim's going to have his work cut out for him towards the end of this race. He's really going to have to be easy on those tires coming out of these slow corners. Meanwhile, Jensen Randall and Nick Van Gelder, their battle continues to go back and forth, and Jensen gets around Nick this time.
And, pretty clean move.
As those two have been going back and forth, I mean, they let Tim catch up to him. Louis Quinlan's starting to catch up to him as well, so... big lockups on the right front of these guys as they head down to that turn 3.
The thing is also, Lewis' tires are much, much newer than both Jensen and Nick's tires. So...
yeah, he's only got 5 laps on those mediums, 12 laps on Nick's medium tires, 20 laps on Jensen's hard tires. So that is
That's a long stint.
That's a long stint by any means. Now, I know the hards can take it around here, but another 7 laps, that's going to be pushing the edge of possible puncture.
Yeah, I would think that's a bit of a stretch, to be honest. But he's going to go for it, I think. I don't really think he has an option, to be honest.
And things are now pretty well separated between these two, and it looks like there really isn't a very close battle on track right now, so we'll run down the running order. Got Andrea Elatrella is out in front to the tune of 14 seconds over Cameron Weston Edwards. Edwards is out in front of his teammate by 2.5 seconds. Rennie Vanderstappen running in the 3rd spot. Tim on 7-lap-old softs trying to close in that gap, and he is gaining time on Rennie. And once again, we will probably find those two battling each other. Jensen Randall running in 5th. Nick Van Gelder has fallen off the pace a little bit. He's now 1.3 seconds back from Jensen Randall. Louis Quinlan, 2.6 back, running in 7th from that. Fons van Houten's had a pretty quiet day, running in the 8th spot. And Reese March has still managed to hang on to that 9th spot with that broken wing. Sandro Dulius, though, closing in. He's found himself in 10th place, 2 seconds back from Reese and closing. So that rounds out the top 10 points-paying positions. Dennis Carenci's day has not gone the way he's wanted it to. A bit of a bottled pit strategy, I think. Looks like he might try and catch up here towards the end of this race to make a move on Sandro. He's only 1.7 back. So there is a battle starting to materialize between 9th, 10th, and 11th. And then if you go another 10.5 seconds back, we've got Robin Herdestagen. Another 9 seconds back is Jurma Rushit. Dion Stahl, we talked about, he's 20 seconds back now. And Ivan Brito's car continues to make the circuits around the track. And Colin Higgins made a pit stop, and he's on fresh set of softs. Too little too late with 6 laps to go for Colin. And that rounds out the 16 drivers. The only DNF we've had today is Brian Power, so...
Yeah, and it was a bit of a weird one, to be honest.
But Tim has caught Rennie Vanderstapp for 3rd as we were running down that running order, and here comes Tim. And again, we find these guys... A lot of bad blood here, there really is. And I don't think this race is going to do anything to help them feel better about one another.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Rennie with a great defensive line heading into that corner. He's got the DRS slot open. He's all over the back of... He's going to try and go around the outside of the Mercedes. Turns it a little early, and Tim's going to push him. And looks like they're kind of trying to mind their P's and Q's through this. Rennie's got the inside line, but Tim's got the better tires. And again, they're still side by side with each other. They're coming up on a slower car. That is Dennis Carenci's, I believe.
Yeah, that's not going to help them at all.
And Dennis is probably thinking, oh my God, what do I do now? These guys are side by side. Now this is going to help Tim because Tim's going to have the DRS advantage, I believe.
And also the slipstream for a brief moment. Okay, that was not... Well, I did jinx that. It was not... He did out-traction him, so he was pretty much alongside him before the DRS zone, so...
So Rennie loses out for now, but there's still the potential of those soft tires falling away a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I mean... With how hard Tim has raced throughout his stint on these tires, there could be a risk that they are going to fall away, but we'll have to wait and see. With the 4 laps to go.
And Sandro has now got in within the 1 second range of the DRS for Reese March to try and take that 9th spot away from him.
Is that Reese March in front of him?
Oh no, that's Dennis Carenci's actually. Reese is lost out. Reese is now in the 11th spot. So Dennis and Sandro have both made it past Reese. So now the battle for 9th is between 2 fully body-abled cars. So
yeah, exactly.
So Reese running around with that front wing damage, and it's not worked out for him at all as we ride along with Sandro to see if he can close that gap.
Yeah, and the thing is, Reese, he can't really pit now because if there is someone who maybe possibly crashes on the last couple of laps in front of him, he's going to be gutted if he's not going to get points. So he needs to stay out pretty much. And with the close battling we've seen so far, there could be a ascent to the wall for someone, possibly.
And we're going to pick up the battle for 6th because Louis Quinlan has closed in on Nick Van Gelder. He's within half a second, so he's in striking distance of making a move for the 6th spot. Meanwhile, Tim Ventic is now within 1 second of Cameron Weston Edwards, so Tim somehow making these soft tires work.
This is a major comeback drive for Tim. This is a mega comeback drive. He was all the way down in last on lap 1, so this is really good.
Yeah, it's a big-time recovery drive for Tim Ventic. Very, I want to say almost Schumacher-esque. Just go as fast as you can and we'll pit as many times as we need to, just hammer out some qualifying laps, and he's going to make the move on Cameron heading down into turn 3. And Charles Palmer has joined the session for some ungodly reason with 3 laps to go.
I mean, yeah. There's no reason for that, but...
I guess if he wants to spectate, sure, let him have it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Tim Ventic does make the move on Cameron Weston Edwards, and Team McLaren might be shaking their heads a little bit after this because Jensen Randall's also gotten around Rennie van der Staap. So Rennie is now back down into 5th.
Can Jensen possibly close up to Cameron towards the end, like on the very last lap? Is that possible?
And while all that was happening, Louis Quinlan did get around Nick Van Gelder for the 6th spot, so good on that. Sandro's still battling it out with Dennis Carenchis for 9th. Can't seem to find a way around him. And 2 laps to go.
I mean, Louis, if he keeps up this speed, is there a chance of a P5 maybe? There might be a little bit of a chance there.
He's 1.7 seconds back, 2 laps to go.
Well, it's always, as they say, you just have to cross the line first. You don't have to lead the whole race. You just need to lead coming across the line for the checkered flag. And that's pretty much all that counts. So, I mean, he can wait until like the last corner, like we saw Lando Norris on Sergio Perez at the Austrian Grand Prix, I think it was.
And the other thing we have to remember, too, is the time penalties that have yet to be assessed towards the end of this race. Tim Ventic did just pick up another 3-second time penalty. That puts him within losing out on that spot to Cameron Weston Edwards, as Cameron is just 3.2 seconds out. Final lap of this race. And
I've also seen Louis Quinlan has picked up quite a lot of penalties across the whole race. It's not so long ago that he picked up his last penalty, so...
And he's within 0.3 of a second to Rennie van der Staap now, so he's looking to take another spot away from Rennie. Rennie going to look to drop to 6th. But time penalties, as you said, Louis has picked up a number of them throughout the course of this race.
It depends on how many Rennie has, though. That's the question. But unfortunately, it doesn't look like it's going to be possible for Louis. He needs to do it through the middle sector, which is, well, very difficult, if not impossible.
And Sandro side by side with Dennis Carenchis as they head into turn 2, and Dennis takes the defensive line, pushes him wide. So Andrea Latrella has crossed the line at this point for the win of this race. Tim Ventic is going to come across 25 seconds behind that. Jensen Randall gets second because of the time penalties, and it's changing as every car comes across the line. It's changing by the second. Somehow Nick Van Gelder right now finds himself on a podium position after coming across the line 5th.
So as you said, those penalties, they did have a part to play in this Grand Prix.
Meanwhile, Sandro's still trying to find a way around Dennis as they come out of the last corner. He's got a good run coming out of there. He's not going to be able to make it work. And here comes Reese March to round it out. So, crazy finish to this race. Colin Higgins is going to be the last one to come across the line. And Colin's race, I'm sure, did not go the way he wanted it to.
No, absolutely not. But, as you said, the P1, there was no question about who was going to win today. But, like, the podium and the following positions, what a absolutely hectic race.
And a shout out to Cameron Weston Edwards, who apparently gets driver of the day according to the game. But I would have to say my driver of the day is easily going to be Andrea, battling it out early on.
I have to disagree, though. I kind of want to give it to Mr. Tim Venting.
Yeah, but Tim may have run a good recovery race. I still got to hand it to Andrea. Getting out in front.
Mine.
And so here's the unofficial results for round 1 of the SRL Season 6. Andrea Elatrella with the win. Jensen Randall finds himself in second. Nick Van Gelder finds himself with a surprise podium finish. Tim Ventic drops from 2nd to 4th because of time penalties. Cameron Weston Edwards is 5th. Rennie van der Staap is 6th. Louis Quinlan 7th. Dennis Carenchis is 8th. Funfin Houghton finds himself in 9th. Sandro Dooley is 10th. Reese March will be disappointed with his effort today as he started towards the front of this grid. Robin Herdestagen is 12th. Jurma Rusic is 13th. Dion Stahl 14th. Ivan Brito, who did not really get to participate, is 15th. Somehow Colin Higgins couldn't outrun an AI car, is 16th. And our only DNF for the day is Brian Power. So, unfortunate.
What a race.
Unfortunate day for Tim Ventic, and obviously these are the unofficial results as of now. So, but guys, be sure to like, subscribe, and comment to the YouTube channel, and check us out online. You check us out on Instagram. The links are in the description below. And Sam, I mean, what do you take away from this? A lot of great racing, some bad blood, maybe boiling over to the next round.
Yeah, definitely. But the main thing I take away from this race is it seems like we have a massive championship fight this season. Absolutely massive. It consists of like 5-6 drivers, possibly, with Andrea, Tim, Jensen, Cameron, Rene, and possibly even Louis Quinlan. And if we possibly can get some maybe some new drivers that are super fast, well...
AKA Epic the Animal.
Absolutely. I mean, then we're going to have, like, pretty much the whole top 10 challenging for the championship.
Well, I mean, if we look at just the top 5 from today, I mean, Tim Ventic, last year's champion, Nick Van Gelder, season 4 champion, you know, and then you've got Andrea Latrella, who's got championship speed. Obviously, he's only been in a handful of SRL races. He was, what, 2 or 3 of them last year?
Yeah,
2 podiums, a win.
He's raced 4 races so far, and I'm not sure but I think he has like 2 victories out of 4 possible. And I'm pretty sure every single appearance ended on the podium for him. So, I mean, as you said, championship material, definitely.
So, unbelievable. An amazing way to kick off the season. Season 6 here, F1 2020 on the PS4 platform. And again, guys, like, subscribe, and comment to the YouTube channel. You can check us out online. Check us out on Instagram. The descriptions are in the link, or the links in the description below. And hopefully, Sam, hopefully we'll have you in here for more races as the season goes on. I know you're not contending this year, and I know you're trying to concentrate on university, but it's nice to have a driver's perspective with a little bit of that feedback, and you've been part of the league for so long, so definitely good having you here.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll see what I can do in terms of making some races as a commentator. And but we do also have to remember that at some point during not too far away, we have the prototype series on Gran Turismo Sport and the GT3 series also starting up, both on Gran Turismo Sport. So, and if there's a championship that I think is interesting, it's definitely the GT3, because as you said, you mentioned Dion, Neek. There's so many drivers with good potential in those cars.
Yeah, that'll definitely be interesting to watch as that unfolds. No set schedule yet for the Gran Turismo series, but that will be coming very shortly in the next coming month or so. Until then, be sure to check us out as we head towards round 2 for SRL F1 racing at Bahrain. That should be that'll probably be in a couple weeks time, but in the meantime, I want to thank everybody for tuning in, and obviously want to thank Sam for being here for the season opener, and we'll see everybody at the next round.
Yep.